Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Villains on the Rebirth server with our level 39 Mastermind Nightmare Lass, who has nearly 8 million experience with about 600,000 to go to get to level 40 in our next set of enhancement slots. 120 million infamy because we just bought um, one of these Mastermind archetype origin enhancers. We have 3 to go. We can build by about 1 a week, so in a couple weeks we'll have them all. In the meantime, we are on a story arc for Technician Naylor, who says, remember how Nemesis Army was all nice to you the last time you went out? Well, I got a theory that might explain it. See, these other dimensions are often analogous to our own, right? So what if in that dimension there was a version of you who hired on with the Nemesis Army? It would explain a lot. And it would give us a golden opportunity. So here's the plan. I want you to impersonate the other you. And this time, steal the intel from right under their noses. Alright, so here we go. Back to the Shadow Shard. Or, I guess, just an alternate reality. 11 supply crates to search. Well, this is going to be quite the mission. There are a bunch of them right here. Alright, Nemesis and these guys are fighting each other, but we'll go ahead and summon our demons and fight these guys. There has been a great earthquake in the D&D community, if you want to call it that, or at least in my gaming group. The new supplement called Tasha's Cauldron of Everything came out today. And of course, one of my players, he just wants to use every single option. Some of them we will, a few of them we won't. His big thing is he wants to do magical tattoos, and I hate the way magical tattoos are implemented in this game, in the new books. I think they're dumb. And the way they work is that the magic is contained in a, and these guys are going to try to mez me, aren't they? The magic is contained in the needle that you use to put the tattoo on, which isn't so bad, but then it's temporary, the tattoo. So if you decide to take the tattoo off, basically you pull it off your arm and you get the needle back. That's just so weird and dumb. I can't even describe how stupid it is, and I really don't want to play with that. I just think that's dumb. So what I would like to do is come up with some sort of a mechanism for it being permanent, and there being like a cost to it, right? Kind of like, you're etching it into your skin, right? So there should be a little bit of a cost. It hurts when you get a tattoo in the real world, and so I don't know what I want the cost to be. Something small, like you permanently lose 1 maximum hit point, not a die 10 or something, just 1, right? So if you had like 35 hit points, you go down to 34 forever. You lose that one permanently, but you get this tattoo permanently embedded on your arm, and it gives you the permanent bonus. And in exchange, maybe you don't have to attune to it. So attunement in D&D is this process where many of the best magic items you have to attune to, and each character can only attune to 3 magic items. And so you have to attune to the tattoos. Now, in the original documentation I saw, they claimed that all the tattoos could go into 1 attunement slot, and tattoos would take up like 1 limb or something. So you could have 1 on your arm, 1 on your leg, 1 on your chest. And you could have like 3 or 4 or 5 tattoos active at the same time, and they'd all be attuned in a single slot. And so whatever I do, I think I'd be okay with them not taking up a slot, but they're going to be probably permanent. And they're also going to be something that that I don't think you can self-administer, right? You can't just pull out that you can't just like stab yourself with a needle and have it turn into a tattoo, right? I think that's just stupid. I know it's a magic world and everything, but it's just so dumb. I can't. So what I think we're going to do instead is have it be that a tattoo artist has to put it on your arm, and then assuming he does that, assuming that the tattoo artist does that, you'll get the benefit at a cost of like permanently losing 1 hit point. And so if you really want the tattoo because it gives you permanent +1 armor class or something while you have the tattoo on your arm, over the long run, that 1 hit point will be more than made up for by the increased armor class or the increased, I don't know, 2 hit or whatever it is that it gave you. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. My instinct is to just say, we're not doing them. But I know one of my players who's told me this. He wants them. He thinks they're cool. And so I want to try to find some way to allow him to do it. But I want to find a way to do it that I don't consider stupid and annoying and out of character. And just dumb. I mean, I just think it's a dumb mechanism. I don't know who made it up, but I don't like it. It basically turns that tattoo into a magic item that doesn't count against some of your attunement slots, and it doesn't count against your the wearing. So like you can only wear like 1 ring per hand. You can only wear like 1 set of gloves, 1 set of boots. So by adding the tattoo, you're basically adding inventory slots to the character, multiple inventory slots. So I mean, to be quite frank, it's basically a power gaming mechanism. It's a mechanism for min-maxing or whatever you want to call it, so that you can gain the benefits of more magic items at a time. And this guy just threw out a cairn, so that's not good. So my guys aren't going to do any damage to him. So what I think I'm going to do is TP him over here. And I missed him, so that didn't do me any good. Hey, but Curly K beat him. Or somebody did. I guess my guys are doing okay against him. Yeah, those guys are super annoying. The sentries. Okay, go after the bedrock. Yeah, I mean, I try the best I can not to say no to my characters or to my players when they want to do something with their character, but I don't want them doing stuff that's going to make the world completely unbelievable to me and wreck the verisimilitude of the world. And I said to one of my friends, who made the implication that, like, as a DM, I should just make the sacrifice and let my players have whatever they want. I pointed out to him, no, the DM has to be happy with things too. If you make the DM unhappy, the game ends, right? I just say, never mind, I don't want to DM anymore. So if you want somebody to keep DMing, you can't make your DM miserable. Now, let's see if we can catch this sentry in an entangle from Curly before he puts down the cairn. There we go, that's what we want. Now, of course, we have Spore Boy here who's going to try and mez me, but at least there's no cairn coming out. And we should be able to finish the sentry very quickly with all the extra hit points, since the cairn is not preventing it. So yeah, you can't make your DM or your GM or your referee or whatever you want to call it miserable, because they're not going to want to keep DMing is work, and they're not going to want to keep working. And I mean, like the one guy who loves optional rules, and he's the one who wants the tattoos really badly. He's definitely got some stuff going on with his character that, yeah, I wish he hadn't made up. And it's partly my fault. I should have just said no, don't do this for your background. But I wanted to say yes. I didn't want to make him unhappy. But he's created this background where, like, he basically, to make him happy, I have to play NPCs that I'm not going to enjoy playing. That he made up for his background. Right, but now I am responsible for playing them as the DM, and he set them up in a way so that let's dismiss these guys and start looking for the other glowies. He set up something that doesn't really fit very well into my world, and I know why he did it. He created the character in the Forgotten Realms originally, and there is a Devoured. We're going to want to fight that, but let's get the other glowies first. He created the character originally in normal D&D, probably Forgotten Realms. Then when he made it up again, he we were going to play in the Forgotten Realms with a different DM, and I then took over for that DM because his wife is very sick and he just couldn't do it. And I said, look, I knew he didn't need the extra responsibilities, so I said, look, I'll do it. It's okay, it's fine. I'll DM for us, but I'm not doing it in the Forgotten Realms. So then this player, who's my best friend, kept everything about his character the same that he had written for the Forgotten Realms, even though he kind of knew it wasn't really appropriate for my Roman Empire stuff. And all he did was like change the name of the town he was born in and the town he was raised in, which are two different towns. And he left everything else the same. And at that point, I knew he did it. You know, it's not like this was new to me. I read his background, and I should have stepped in there and said no. Either you completely change this character around so that it fits in the Roman Empire, or play a different character. But I didn't want to say that because I knew that would make him miserable. Because he really wanted to play this character. He loves this character. He's played it multiple times before. I think I've mentioned it. It's a sorcerer. It's exactly the type of character he likes because they're basically the D&D version of mutants, and he's a big fan of New Mutants and X-Men and stuff like that, and he loves mutants. And his character in many ways doesn't really fit into the Roman Empire, but you know, again, I didn't want him to be unhappy. I should have said to him no, but I didn't. And now that he's in the game, he has all of these. He has two main elements to his background that, like, I really didn't want to deal with. I don't mind them being in his background, but now he wants me to bring them into the game, and he's really frustrated that I haven't done this. And I haven't done it because I don't want to. You know, I don't want to deal with it. And I kept hoping that what I was doing in the story of the world would engage him enough that he would stop wanting this so much. But it seems like the longer it goes, the more he wants it to happen. So he's got two issues. One is he has this girlfriend who is, by his description, chaos incarnate. It's actually based on a player character his wife made back when he was a rotating DM with other people, and his character, the sorcerer, was romantically involved with his wife's character, who was at the time a shadow dancer, right? So he wants her to be the shadow dancer from this campaign, even though there is no shadow dancer in 5th edition D&D, which he well knows. And unfortunately, we did not get the star for where this thing is, this last glowy, so I don't know where it is. We're going to have to dismiss again and keep looking. So he's got this character who is, you know, basically this wild swirling vortex of chaos, and just does whatever she wants whenever she wants it. And and here's the last glowy. And she left him 2 years ago, and he has no clue on how to find her. We're gonna go fight the Devoured, and then we'll leave, as I want to fight the boss. He doesn't know where she went, and it's not just that his character doesn't know where she went. He, the player, has no idea where she would have gone, right? So he doesn't know, and I don't know. I don't know anything about this character. This is his wife's character. I never role-played with her. I don't know anything about it. By the way, there's an ambush. Yeah, you're going the wrong way, buddy. So I came up with a story. And then after I came up with the story, he started, here, well, what about this and what about this? He actually sent me an email and said, not she could be. He said, my girlfriend character is a rogue / Way of Shadow monk. I'm like, well, first of all, that's not how I spec'd her out, and I'm not redoing it. I have plans for her. And second of all, you don't get to decide what she is. And third of all, NPCs don't have PC character classes. I don't make them up that way. I just make a stat block. So it's like, I don't know why he thinks he has the right to just decide what she is as a character. Also, I wasn't intending her to be that high of a level. So, because she's not a PC. Right, so, anyway, I've been, like, I figured out what I wanted to do with her. What I figured, he said she might have left on a ship or whatever. I said, okay. She got on board a merchant ship. They were overtaken by pirates. And most of the people on the ship were killed, but she's pretty and she's resourceful and she's interesting. So the captain, who is a Minotaur, the captain of the pirate ship, which, since he's a Minotaur, the pirate ship is called the Labyrinth, and it's an infamous quinquireme, 5 rows of oars. It's a quinquireme that's very powerful, very fast, and the Romans have never been able to catch it. They've never been able to stop it, and so he waylaid her ship. He was impressed with her, so he took her on as part of his crew. And later on, the orc, or half orc maybe, I can't remember, who was the first mate, the quartermaster of the crew, on pirate ships back in the day, they called them quartermaster rather than executive officer or first mate. And now we're ready for the boss, so I'm going to buff us up while I talk. Anyway, the Minotaur captain took her on, made her quartermaster. The quartermaster tried something with her, like he cornered her and tried to do stuff to her, like rape her or whatever. So she gutted him, and instead of being mad, the captain was impressed, and he made her his quartermaster. So my plan is, whenever they go to sea, which they have not tried to do yet, my plan is that they're going to get waylaid by the Labyrinth, and it's going to capture them, I hope. I'm going to try to have it capture them. We'll see. You never know. The players might try to sink it. If they do, they're going to kill this guy's girlfriend, not knowing it, I guess. But the reason the Romans have never been able to capture the Labyrinth is because there's this maelstrom out in basically the Mediterranean Sea that leads you to the astral plane. And these guys have been hiding out on another dimension. And so the Romans have never been able to capture them. And so what I'm planning is, then we've saved this nemesis now, what I'm planning is to have this thing capture them, bring them to the astral sea, and then they might have some extra planar adventures. So I actually built all of that. I designed the astral sea, and I've got the archipelago of moats in the astral sea. This is sort of a 4th edition version of the astral sea because I like that, where the pirates hide out, and the captain isn't going to be on the ship. So the girlfriend is going to actually be the one who captures them and brings them to the captain, and he's going to say, I don't trust adventurers, and he's going to want to kill them. And so what he's going to do is say, well, they've got this thing, an astrolabe of the astral plane, I can't remember what I called it, that will help them magically navigate. And I've got to pay the supergroup base. I just realized that, the base fee. I'll do that after I'm done filming. But anyway, he's going to say this astrolabe needs the pearl of an astral dragon. I got the idea from the crate dragons in Star Wars have a dragon pearl like in their gullet, and so this is actually a pearl in the brain. And then I got this idea from Matt Colville. He has these gemstone dragons that have special kinds of psionics. It's different from the way it's coded in 5th edition D&D. I love it. So I've imported all that into Foundry, and instead of gemstone dragons, these are going to be astral dragons, and the pearl comes with the psionics. And so they're going to have to kill an adult astral dragon and rip a pearl out of its brain and bring the pearl back to him. And if they do that, he will let them back into their regular world and off the astral plane. And so I think it's a really cool idea, but this isn't going to happen until they get on board a ship and try to go somewhere, and then the Labyrinth will catch them, and then they're screwed, right? And then they go on this adventure. But I don't know when they're going to try to take ship. I have no idea. And so I came up with this idea, and okay, she's a pirate now, and then he's like, oh, he wants her to be this Way of Shadow rogue or monk, and he thinks maybe she'll be working for some rich guy in Rome. Like, no, if she's in Rome, you're never going to find her. It's a city of like 1 million people, right? The reason I want to put her on the water is that the first time they take to sea, which they're going to have to do someday, I can trigger this encounter and he'll meet her again. But they're way inland right now. They haven't been doing anything to try and track her down. And I think he thought I was going to just have her show up in this little town in the middle of nowhere on the edge of the Roman Empire. I'm like, why would she be there? I actually was going to do that in the very first adventure. I was going to have her in the place of what I now have as a druid. I had as a druid who was helping rescue kids from the goblins and got caught. I was going to have her leave the town he was in, come north to the town that they started the adventure in, and be performing in the tavern, and she hears about the kids and she goes to save them. Then I find out, well, she's actually not going to be altruistic like that. And he said, well, I don't want her to show up right away at the beginning. So I said, okay, you're going to have to wait. So now he says, well, I didn't want her to show up at the beginning, but I didn't want to wait this long. Well, what do you want me to do? It's very hard for me to come up with a story that someone else starts and didn't finish. It's not easy to do that. And he's not making my life easy with some of this stuff. Because, for instance, he said, well, it's been 2 years since he's seen her, so he doesn't even know. I finally said to him, look, if you want to find her, you're going to need to pick up the trail. Don't sit back and wait for me to have her fall into your lap. And so he said, well, I could go back to the port, but it's been 2 years, and if there were any trail, I would have picked it up already. Well, you wrote the background, right? He wrote a background where he has no possible way to pick up her trail, and he's frustrated because I haven't come up with some way to pick up her trail. Because there was no way to pick up her trail, I said, okay, I'll have her be a pirate, and she'll show up whenever he goes out to sea. But they haven't gone out to sea yet. So anyway, let's get back to this. We got a clue. And the clue says that based on Nemesis Army's friendly stance toward you, Naylor theorized that obviously there's another alternate me helping them. So test the theory, went to another hotspot where the Nemesis Army was fighting, devouring Earth. And while there, we helped the Nemesis Army and even managed to steal some of their deployment plans. It looked like we've caught Nemesis in one of his own schemes. So, Naylor says, we got another target. It seems like that Nemesis Army, hang on, let me get rid of this thing. It just lost a base to Longbow and are trying to retake it. In all the confusion, you can find out some more important information. See, we think that the Nemesis Army has been recruiting a lot of people from parallel worlds to swell their ranks. Steal a bit more information from other Nemesis nodes, please. Okay, we will do that. Yeah, the other element of his background is he decided that he doesn't know who his parents are. He's a sorcerer, which means he's born with his magic powers. And his parents showed up in this little town one day at this inn run by this woman who he calls Nan, his Nana, I guess. And they stayed at the inn for a couple days, and then they handed her the baby and said, we have to leave, and they ran off. And we'll be back, and they gave him this pendant. I think the pendant was even my idea. And so it's actually a magic item, and he's gotten one ability out of it. It's actually got 2 or 3 other abilities he won't learn until he meets his parents. And so, his parents are gone. And they were in hiding. They were being chased by somebody. He doesn't know who. He said, you make that up. He doesn't know why. He said, you make that up. He doesn't know where they went. He said, you make that up. And now he's like, well, he's frustrated that in the campaign so far, there haven't been any clues to find his mother. Actually, I gave him one that he didn't follow up on, which was that somebody saw her. So he has these golden eyes. Someone saw a person with golden eyes, a human, because elves have golden eyes, but humans don't. Somebody saw a human with golden eyes in the marketplace in Ostia, which is the port town for Rome, right? It's a place where people come and go. That's where she is. I haven't told him that, but I decided she would be there. I figured they'll find her when they decide to go to Rome. And I actually have a scene planned out. I had to figure out, okay, he didn't tell me, he didn't come up with why was she being chased. What happened to his mother? What happened to his father? He didn't know. So I'm like, well, okay, what happened to them? I have to figure it out. So his character is Egyptian, and Egypt has been overrun by bad guys. So I thought maybe it has something to do with that, but that was 5 years ago, not when he was a kid. He's like 23 years old. So why would his mother have had to flee Egypt 23 years ago? I thought about this for a long time, and I decided that the Egyptian royal family are the only human sorcerers. And they all have golden eyes. It's one of their traits. It's how you can tell a royal member of the Egyptian family, along with amulets that they wear. They wear these bracelets. And so then I decided that the Egyptians, based on the history, right, there was a king and a queen, and they shared the throne. And then Cleopatra, I believe, 7th, who was on the throne at the time of Caesar, basically teamed up with Caesar and said, if you put me on the throne as the sole queen of Egypt, I will subjugate Egypt to you. And so Caesar did that. He killed her brother and defeated her brother's army and then put her on the throne, right? And then eventually Mark Antony got involved with her and so forth. So, so that happened in my world as well. And but before that, the Egyptians were sorcerers. It was a family of sorcerers, basically. And so when Cleopatra took the throne, her younger sister, Arsinoe, and this is, I think, partially true, her younger sister Arsinoe revolts against her in my world and takes about a third of the court of jackals, which is the royal family of Egypt, with her. They form a new court in exile in Carthage called the Court of Scarabs. And the scarabs and the jackals hate each other, and they try to kill each other. And so Hassan's mother, now we fast forward 1,000 years, and the Court of Jackals is still kind of hiding in an exile, and still hating the the Court of Scarabs is hiding in exile, still hates the Court of Jackals. Hassan's mother was from the Court of Jackals, and his father was from the Court of Scarabs, right? So they're supposed to hate each other. The mother was in the marketplace when she was a young woman, and she got kidnapped by the guy who was going to eventually be his father, the character's father, and and he and his friends took her out in the desert, and they were trying to get her back to Carthage while avoiding the Roman and the Egyptian armies. And so they're out in the desert, and they were out there for a while because they had to avoid the roads and avoid the armies, so they had to go the long way. And consequently, they got to know each other pretty well. And we do not need all these blues and greens, so I'm just going to get rid of them. And so the mother and father then future mother and father fell in love. And then the father was like, I don't have the heart to bring her to the queen of the Scarab Court, who's going to kill her or torture her or worse, or do something bad to her. And so he let her go, but the other guys with him saw that he was letting her go, so they tried to stop it, and they had to kill. He and the girl had to kill these two, and now he can't go back to the Court of Scarabs because he betrayed Arsinoe, the 16th or whatever, who is the queen of the Scarab Court, and believes she should be the queen of Egypt, right? And so it's interesting that this is all lieutenants. So anyway, I said, okay, well, so the mother and the father then fled, and they had Hassan, they had their son, and whose name is Hassan, and then they were being chased. They originally fled to the equivalent of Israel, where Tabaxi live, because the Tabaxi, like, they don't care about politics of anybody, and they just welcome them. They're very welcoming, and so the Tabaxi accepted them, but then the queen's assassin, who's called the Faceless One, he's a shapeshifter, he found them, and so they fled. And they fled up the coast, and they ended up in a small town in northern Rome, the northern area of the Roman Empire. Will you attack, please? Guys, come on. And they thought they'd gotten away, but the assassin showed up again. So he thinks his pendant is his mother's, because his mother gave it to him, but it's actually his father's pendant. The father left the pendant and said to the mother, give it to him. And then, where's this other longbow? Oh, here we go. And then he fled. He tried to lead the assassin away, and he was actually killed by the assassin. And then the mother also fled, and she went back to the court of Egypt and tried, and they welcomed her home, and everything seemed good. So she told her sister the truth, the queen. She said, I married somebody from the other court, and the sister got mad and placed her under house arrest. And so, since she was under house arrest, she couldn't come back, and she was under house arrest for 20 years, and then when the Egyptians got overrun by, turns out they don't know this yet, but the guys who overran Egypt were the Yuan-Ti, who are these reptile creatures. So when they got overrun by the Yuan-Ti, the castle was breached, and the player character's mother got out, but she never went to him, because she knows that the assassin is still out there. He's impossible to shake. She's afraid he's going to find her, and she thinks he's going to then kill the son, because the son is most legitimate heir to the Egyptian throne, right? He is the scion of both courts, the court of scarabs, who claim the rights to the throne, and the court of jackals, who have the right to the throne. This guy is the heir to both. So he could go onto the throne of Egypt and be considered legitimate by both factions. And so neither one of the queens want him around because he can take the power from them. So they'll both try to kill him if they know he exists and is the offspring of both houses. And so the mother's trying to protect him, so she doesn't want him to know, and she doesn't want anybody to know. So I placed her in Ostia, and my plan was when they go there, there's going to be a fight. I thought at night, if possible, there's going to be a battle between the guy's mother and the faceless one, who's going to be a very high level, very powerful combo of like sorcerer, assassin, rogue, super nasty, or maybe sorcerer monk. I haven't decided, but he's going to be this really powerful, evil, nasty assassin who's very high level, and high level enough to hold off both the party and this guy's mother, who's a pretty high level sorceress. And my intent was that he would, upon starting to lose the fight, he would like teleport away and disappear, and then Hassan's mother would recognize him, realize who he is, and have to finally tell him the truth. But again, this thing doesn't happen until they go to Ostia, which I hope they don't try to do tomorrow night, or Friday night, rather. It's a couple nights from now, our next session, because I ain't ready. I haven't mapped out Ostia or Rome yet, because I don't know when they're going to go. Oh, we have an elite boss. That's not good. Not prepared. That's not good. Let's hurry and quick buff these guys. Try to heal Curly. Not good, not good. We might lose this fight because I was not expecting an elite boss in the middle of this. Let's try to get the Spec Ops first. And let me try to give some buffs to Curly here. And give him some resistance. And give him some attack. And give him some 2-hit. And kill! Yeah, Curly's going to need help if this guy keeps attacking him. So yeah, I have these ideas that, it took me months, from February until probably May, to come up with this origin story for the mother. And over the summer, I came up with what happened to the girlfriend. Right? So one of the reasons I didn't bring them into the story is because it took me forever to figure out what to do with these characters, because it really wasn't like one of the things he wanted to do in his story is he created his own custom homebrew class of sorcerers, and he said maybe that's why his mother was being attacked, because that type of sorcerer, there's some conclave and she did something to betray them. Like, I don't know what, right? It's not like I had made up a set of rules for sorcerers that I could say she violated, because I hadn't. I wasn't planning to do anything all that special with sorcerers. Initially, by the way, with this guy, I asked him if he wanted to maybe be the only sorcerer in the world. And he's like, no, I don't want to be that super special. So then he created this homebrew fate spinners or whatever type of sorcerer. And I said, well, maybe you're the only one of those. And I don't think he wanted to be that special either. And so I was like, all right, well, not sure what you want me to do then, right? Why are they going after his parents? Now, if it had been 5 years ago, I'd say, well, the UNT are after him. That's super easy. But it was 20 years ago, and the UNT were not in Egypt at the time. So that's everything. All right. I feel like we haven't gone anywhere, do we? Yeah, we still have more in here. Let's see if there's anybody else in here. I'll just beat them up. Because I think this will probably be the end of this episode, guys. We are 34 minutes in. So let's finish this. Kill off whoever's in here. Oh, one of these rooms. All right, we'll do it, and then we will stop. So yeah, I don't know. Now the UNT story, that's part of the main story, right? Because part of the main story is that they teleport this guy out of here so my minions don't get caught up trying to get in there to get him. The main story has to do with Egypt falling to the UNT. The UNT are part of the same alliance of reptilian creatures, lizard folk, UNT, a dragonborn who is basically an undead and is the last dragonborn to still be alive, and other reptilian creatures, dragons and wyverns and hydras, anything reptilian. They are all united against the Warmbloods, basically humans, elves, dwarves, and so forth. And what's really going on, that the players have no idea is going on right now, is that there is a great, everlasting, thousands-year-old cosmic war between the cold-blooded reptile creatures who were here first and the younger warm-blooded races who came last and supplanted them. And so this is part of this whole cosmic struggle that's going on. The players don't know this struggle is going on yet. I've given them hints, but they don't have any real knowledge yet that this great cosmic struggle is going on between the Warmbloods and the Cold. They have been called Warmbloods by a kobold who was one of the only ones to speak English to them, and said that he didn't trust Warmbloods and that the Warmbloods will pay. There was a note in the very first adventure, second session, third session, I think second session, they killed a necromancer reptile, a lizard folk reptile, a necromancer. Lizard folk necromancer who was attacking Rome with undead. And there was a note from a guy named M. They've still never figured this out. This is the bad guy, the big bad guy. And M told the lizard folk necromancer to get the job done, or you will suffer even more at my hands than you suffered at the hands of the Warmbloods. And he signed it with his initial and then said, in the names of the reptile gods. And the players are like, well, who are the reptile gods? I said, you have no idea. They made religion checks. Nobody's heard of it because these gods are dead. They were killed by the human and the Warmblood gods, right? And now the Cold Bloods who are left behind want revenge. And that's really what the whole plot of my world is about. And there were clues to that in the ruins of a town named Lugdunum that my players explored for a couple of nights, but they were super cowardly about it, and they were smart. They didn't get detected. They killed a few Slodai who also work for these guys because they're toad beasts, so that's also a cold-blooded organism. But they didn't get all the information, so I don't know what they're going to do Saturday because they're missing a lot of it. And so there's a map of 16 locations, but they don't know what the 16 locations signify because they didn't get the other clue, which was in the temple of Apollo and Diana, that told the story of the fall of the last king of the Dragonborn and how he was imprisoned under this fort. They know somebody broke out, but they don't know that it was this undead king of the Dragonborn who is seeking revenge against Rome, and that there are clues in each of the places where the little map is marked. And so what I expected them to do was go, we've got to go find the clues in these other places to see what this guy's learning. And what he's actually learning is an incantation that will bring Rome to its knees, that for security purposes, the Romans split up and put one letter of the incantation in each of the 16 cities. And when you say all 16 letters together as words, you bring Rome to its knees. And so they are going to have to find it. And in magic terms in my world, if you reverse a spell, you have its opposite effect. So if this guy incants it and they know it, they can reverse it and undo it. But they haven't figured that out yet because they haven't gotten a bunch of the clues. And they don't know enough to know that yet, but they've also missed a lot of the clues, so I don't know what they're going to do. We'll see what happens on Saturday night. Stay tuned. Anyway, can it be true? No, this has to be impossible. How could it be true? How could you be a Nemesis robot? I'm not a Nemesis robot. So we had to steal more Nemesis Army secrets about a new type of imposter automaton. You found blueprints, telemetry, etc. The only problem is Nemesis Army's new automaton is supposed to be impersonating you. According to their data, the imposter is already deployed, but would mistakenly think it's the original. No, it's not. Okay, well, we're going to find out next time how I get out of this mess. Until then, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Villains on the Rebirth server.